This is a 1950s, I think, Fritz pickup. These were made in New York. Kind of knockoffs of a Gibson P90. A little bit cheaper materials because plastic injection molding was very expensive back then, so they just kind of stacked up these parts out of plastic. There's a rivet, there's a rivet. Typical P90 type pole screws. Magnet structure is very similar to a P90. Brass base plate. Same kind of Gibson hookup wire. These would have been found in a number of guitars, probably the most prominent being old Guild guitars. The old Guild single coils, a lot of those were these particular type of pickups. It's got less wire on it than a P90 does, which retains a lot more high ends, but they're a brighter sounding pickup than a P90. A P90 has 10,000 turns of this same sort of wire, and it has a very pronounced bottom end because of that. This, having a bit of a smaller winding, retains a little bit more of that kind of Fendery single coil sound. Some people love them, some people hate them. The people who seek them out, that's typically the type of sound they're looking for. So stripping this little weirdo P90 knockoff is tricky because it's lacquer potted. We can tell this, well, first of all, because the windings are stuck together like they've got 10 tons of hairspray in them. Poison would be impressed with that. And then you can see that the hookup wire, the braided pickup lead, has got this coating on it that I also believe is lacquer. This was not uncommon. Fender did this for a long time. I imagine a lot of people did until wax potting kind of became the norm. So let's take just a moment to admire just how awful this particular pickup bobbin design is, okay? First of all, it's clearly just kind of banged together. Flat plastic over a piece of square stock plastic. I thought it was a piece of steel, but it's not. It's like a black plastic. I don't know what kind. And that's all riveted together. Now that in itself is not a terrible design, but if you look, you see that gap where you can see the light shining through the bobbin core and the flange. And that means there's a gap in there. So this pickup was bound to fail because the magnet wire is eventually going to work its way into that gap. And it's either going to get cut or short out against the pole screws or the pickup height screws or whatever. So this is not a great design. And this pickup is kind of born to lose. What I'm going to do is try and fill those gaps with super glue and give it a little more strength. And then I will tape it with coil tape, which is an insulating coil tape that I put in there. And hopefully that will ensure against it shorting out so bad. Also, one other little detail. Look at the sharp corners on the edges of that, of the core. See how the core has these corners, whereas a P90 bobbin is rounded so that you don't have those sharp corners. And essentially this pickup is a knockoff of a P90. It's very old. It's not a modern knockoff, but you know, that's how things were done back then. So I'll be trying to make a few small improvements for reliability, but other than that, I'm going to try and stick as stock as I can on this. Just want to file down these corners on this bobbin core, so it doesn't have these crazy sharp edges in there. That's probably not what failed on this pickup, but it's just bad work. Of course, it did last, you know, 60 years or so, so it's not horrible work, but why take chances? Now I'm going to try to glue that flange gap in there, get that closed, then I will tape it, and I might glue it a little bit more, but I don't want to go crazy. I just want enough to keep the wire, the magnet wire, from working its way into that crack. All right, got the bobbin glued up, a little bit of tape to reinforce it. It's all ready for the winder. All right, getting the wind on. It's time for this one to go back home.